expertise on our platform this evening. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. And we will at some point in this program, because I think we have a record number of JPs joining us this evening. So I think we need to give you a special shout out. So thank you, and we will acknowledge your presence in short order. Mr. Penny, anybody you want to pick up this evening?
Yes, I want to say big ups to Pastor Paul Mason from the Heritage Independent Baptist Church, who is a very regular partner with us here on this program. And he's also our chaplain for our cadet corps. And so we want to thank Pastor Paul Mason for always joining us. And he will actually be doing our prayer for us this evening when we get to that time.
Absolutely. If this platform becomes full to capacity, please remember you can join us on YouTube at CSS North 83. That's CSS North 83. So tell your family and friends if you can't get on this platform, because I suspect it's going to be full this evening. Tell them to join us on YouTube. We're also live streaming there, and that's at CSS North 83.
Definitely. So we are delving into part 2 of a 3-part series that we are doing, and it's on child safety. So for last month, we did child safety, the back to school edition. And we had on our program from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Miss Shelley-Ann Johnson Pessoa. And she did an amazing job on that program. And today we are on part 2, which is emotional and psychological safety. So we're still looking at child safety.
Absolutely. And one of the things I love and I want to acknowledge and point out at this point is how invaluable our stakeholders and partners have been as it relates to sharing this content and this information to our audiences. We are truly grateful for you. And like we had one of our partners last time, we do have another partner on board with us this evening, Dr. Paul Smith, who is a clinical psychologist and will be sharing from his expertise this evening on the emotional and psychological safety for our children.
That's right.
This is absolutely important because we know that children are little people, meaning they do have challenges. So we must put things in place to ensure that they are doing well, they are coping, and they're managing, not just in school, but at home and wherever they go, to ensure that they have a balanced and level psychological development. As much interest as we put into their physical development, it is important that we also prioritize their psychological development. So we are in for a good treat this evening, Mr. Fennell.
Definitely. And I'm happy that you brought that up, because in today's world, most of our parents tend to focus primarily on providing the physical needs of the child, ensuring that they have food, clothing, shelter, they are going to school, and all the needs all the needs are provided in those areas. But where I find that our parents are missing out, or where there needs to be some improvement, is focusing on the emotional and psychological aspect or the needs of our children. And that is why we want to focus on those areas this evening to help all of us on this platform to be able to be in a better position to ensure that we're doing the best for our children.
That's it. And without any further ado, I invite Pastor Paul Mason from the Heritage Independent Baptist Church, who is also our chaplain for the St. Catherine North Cadet Corps, to take us to the throne of grace at this point in time.
Over to you, Pastor Mason.
Thank you. Let me say greetings. Thank you, host, for allowing me access. And I so appreciate the privilege to be a part of this August movement at this time, the new look of policing in the island. I am so happy to be living at a time like this. So let me greet you, Sergeant Fennell and Constable Powell, and I'm sure Inspector Williams is somewhere in the wings. And also let me greet the presenter, Dr. Smith. So let us pray. Almighty God, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, your only begotten Son, who, because of your great love for humanity, you sent him into this world to die for us, so that we could have hope in the hopelessness, so that we could have life in the midst of death. And we are so thankful. We are delighted then, therefore, Father, to present ourselves as living sacrifice. And God, this moment, I'm so thankful for it, dear God. And I pray, Lord, that what will be discussed today, Lord God, will be so beneficial, so applicable, Lord, so transformational, Lord, so that our future can be certain, because we are discussing children and they are indeed our future right now. So I put this event into your hands. I just pray, God, that you will be the moderator, you will guide and direct, and that, Lord God, even that which was not planned originally, but that is necessary in this time, that God, you will just inspire in the mighty name of Jesus. So let your kingdom come at this time, Holy Father, and yet your will be done in the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I pray. Amen and amen. Hallelujah. Back over to you,
Thank
Carl.
you. Thank you so much, Pastor Mason, for taking us to the throne of grace there. And as we are about to go into our discussion once again, our guest this afternoon is none other than Dr. Paul Smith, and he is a clinical psychologist. And Dr. Smith has over 15 years of experience, and he is married to Rose for over 25 years. The marriage has produced 2 children, and Dr. Smith is the president of the Jamaican Psychological Society. He's a marriage officer, a minister of religion, a justice of the peace, and he is a motivational speaker and primary director of Love and Restoration Ministries.
He is the center manager of the Church Teachers College Education Assessment and Intervention Center, that's in Mandeville. He is guided by the mantra, if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your virtual hands together and help me welcome Dr. Paul Smith.
Good evening, wonderful. I see you have already got your presentation up, Dr. Smith. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going into a presentation from Dr. Smith, after which the floor will be opened for questions to be asked. So whilst he's doing his presentation, you may want to take some jottings. You may want to, if you have questions that you want to ask, you might want to note those so that you can be able to contribute to the discussion as we go throughout this evening. So welcome to you again, Dr. Smith. And we want to also advise persons that you can also use the chat option. So you can use the raise hand feature, or you can use the chat option. You can type in the chat, or you can use the raise hand feature to ask questions, but we will take those questions after Dr. Smith's presentation. So Dr. Smith, the floor is now open to you. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Sergeant Fennell.
Yes, sir, and welcome to the Family Empowerment Virtual Discussion.
And good evening to your co-host, Constable Powell.
Good
That's
evening,
right.
Sir Smith.
It is so nice to be on this evening. And thank you, Sergeant Fennell, that you have been the bridge. You have bridging the gap as it relates to communication and having
That's
me
right.
on this evening. You have been absolutely awesome in your communication.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just say hello to those who are online. And it's so good to be here to share what I think is a very, very important topic that oftentimes we tend to overlook. And we tend to overlook that our children too have a multiplicity of issues.
That's right.
And adults too, because of the unresolved childhood experiences that they might have had, they become unwholesome individuals. So I want to delve into it this evening. I want it to be as interactive as possible. And as Sergeant said, that whenever I am through, I am available to answer your questions, your comments, your concerns. So we want to look this evening at the emotional and psychological safety for children. And when I talk about children, I go as way up as even 17, right? So emotional and psychological safety refers to creating environments where children feel secure, valued, and free from harm. And I want to interject that children have minds, children have thoughts, some are wholesome, some are unwholesome. Children need guidance. They need someone to listen to, people who they can trust. But emotional has to do with how they feel. How are they processing their emotions? Psychological has to do with their thought processes. How are they thinking? What are they thinking? Do they need guidance on what they are thinking? So it has to do with the mental faculty. So I will intertwine the psychological with the mental. So whatever we think affects how we feel, and how we feel affects how we behave. So you want to check what is behind somebody's behavior, you go straight back to what they're thinking. Is it a faulty way of thinking? Are they primarily negative? Are these children giving up on hope? What's happening in the environment? What's happening to the parents? What's happening at school? What's happening in their subculture? All of these become important because when they start to think and process, then the emotion comes in, right? And they start to behave accordingly. So when we talk about the emotional and the psychological safety, we are referring to the environments, right? We're talking about the home. We're talking about church. We're talking about the community. We're talking about school, the ecosystem that should be taking care of our children. And all the ecosystems are extremely important, right? So whenever we have children in counseling and they have maladaptive behavior, one of the first things we try to underscore is what is happening at home. Is it a broken family? Is it a home filled with conflict and tension? Is that the child has adult responsibilities, right? We go to school and the teacher might be concerned that the child's academic performance is declining. And we start what is happening to you in your environment, and you'll be amazed at the many things that the children process and are actually going through. They leave home with it, they leave the community with it, they come to school with it. If it's not held at school, then they return to home, they return to the community, and the cycle continues. The psychological and mental cycles continue. And so we are concerned that children should feel secure emotionally, psychologically. They should feel valued, that whatever they're feeling is important, that they are absolutely important, and that they need to be heard. Gone are the days when we tell children that they must be seen and not heard. It's a different dispensation. It's a different set of children that we're dealing with. But they also should be free from harm. And I might say that whatever happens to them in the physical will affect them in the emotional and also in the psychological. It is essential, ladies and gentlemen, for healthy development, learning, and self-expression. So if the children are not emotionally well, if they are not psychologically well or safe, then it's gonna happen that it's gonna impair their development, whether development is physical, whether it is psychosocial, whether it is mental, whatever it is, it's going to delay them, it's going to affect them, it's going to affect their relationships, interpersonal relationships, and when they are fully developed, their intimate relationships, their marriages, right? It affects them in every facet of their lives. Safety is not only physical, but it is also emotional and mental. all of us as human beings, we have emotional issues that we deal with. We deal with emotional issues from day to day. We get disappointed. It affects us emotionally, we become sad. We hear a good news and it affects us emotionally, we become happy, we are joyful, right? We lose our loved ones and we feel a sense of grief, a sense of unhappiness, a sense of hopelessness. These are emotions that children process as well, right? Home is not happy, and they remember the time when home was happy, and so they grieve over the loss of their family. Mom and dad might be separated or divorced or not living harmoniously, and it affects the emotional development, the emotional stability, the emotional state of the child, right? Mental now has to do with how they're thinking. Is my life worth it? And in recent times, we hear of the number of suicide among our children for various reasons. That is when the mental faculty is affected and impacted by what is happening in the emotional domain, right? And so there come a time when they start to think they have faulty thinking, irrational thinking, they become hopeless. It doesn't make sense. I continue at age 15. Home is not happy. School is not happy. I'm being bullied at school, right? My grades are not looking good. And nobody is listening to me to ask me what is happening. My mood has changed. I have become more aggressive and I was never like that, right? I have become withdrawn. I was never like that. I was like the life of the party. But emotionally and mentally, things are happening that only I will know about unless I share it with somebody who is concerned. So why does emotional safety matter? When a child feels emotionally safe, it builds trust between children and adults. And emotional safety, psychological safety, are early aspects of development as it relates to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at his second step, the second process, before one reaches self-fulfillment or self-actualization, is that the lower needs must be met, right? And second in the lower need, you have the need for safety. So safety for all of us as humans is important. Physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety, psychological safety. So as humans, we need to feel that sense of safety. And if we are stuck there, according to Maslow, we are not able to move on to the next level, right? And so we go all the way up until we reach self-actualization. When somebody is able to say, yes, I am fulfilling my dream. I've always wanted to do this, and here I am. But unless we fix what is happening emotionally and psychologically with our children, they will not self-actualize. They will not be wholesome. They will not be truly happy, right? Unless those needs are met. So when we when we try to help our children with how they feel, right? What's happening around you? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about in your own environment? How do you feel at school, right? How do you feel about the future? How do you feel about unresolved issues of the past? So trust is important, right? Because there's a time when children will not want to trust adults, because sometimes the adults are the ones who cause harm, psychological harm to the children, be it emotional abuse, be it verbal abuse, be it physical abuse, right? Be it that, hey, whatever I say to you, I am judged, I am punished, I am laughed at. I might be different and you laugh at me, you scorn me. you ridicule me. These things will crush the psychological and mental walls that the children have, right? And so the trust between children and adults is very important, right? And even as parents, those of us who are parents right now, we need to look back at our parenting style, right? How much of a good listener are you? When a child comes to you with an issue, what's your first approach? Do you listen or are you dismissive, right? If the child lives in an unsafe environment, then the child will not learn to trust. And that's why in a number of cases, when the children take their own lives, the adults around them are surprised because you're saying that they looked happy, but inside they were not happy. They might notice some signs too that they were withdrawn, but they did not probe to find out what is happening because the relationships at home do not lend themselves to kind of that relationship where a child will open and say, mom or dad or aunt or whoever is in the immediate environment, I am not feeling well. For the past 2 weeks, I'm not doing well. I feel as if life is not worth it. People laugh at me whenever I put my hand and I attempt to answer a question in class. They laugh at me and call me stupid. And it gets to me emotionally and psychologically. Somebody calls me ugly and fat or skinny, right? And so there must be a transition of trust, that the child should be able to trust their parents, trust their neighbors, trust their guardians, their caregivers, trust their teachers, right? Trust those at church who are responsible for taking care of them also psychologically, right? When emotional safety encourages open communication, and so the child feels safe enough that they can talk to an adult, right? And the communication is open, and the adult will sit and listen actively, looking at the body language, looking at the gestures, right? Looking to hear the unsaid, what is not said, right? All of these are important. And open communication means that you do it without judging. So I'm saying to adults and parents in particular, right? When the children come to you and they discuss with you an area of weakness, an area of struggle, an area of challenge that they're going through, our first approach cannot be to punish them for being open to their emotions. If we do that, we are pushing them away, and there is no safe environment for them to talk to, right? When they go to school and they talk to a teacher in charge and they say something privately to the teacher, and the teacher breaks the trust, and other teachers know about it, and the child knows that the other teachers know. When the child talks to the guidance counselor and he or she is not trustworthy, and the issue comes out without the child's permission, right? These are areas of that children might go through. Emotional safety reduces stress and anxiety, right? So stress is any kind of reception or any reaction to what it might be happening in the environment that causes the body to respond. So the body has a physiological way of responding to stress. The body has a psychological way of responding to stress. So when persons are stressed physiologically, they might have heart palpitation, right? They might start sweating profusely. They might become confused. For some persons, it might be diarrhea or vomiting, whatever it is, can happen to them physiologically. But emotionally, stress can weigh down on persons, can lead them to have suicidal thoughts when the stress seems to be unmanageable, right? And all adults can relate to stress. It affects everybody, it's natural, right? But our children need to know how to manage stress and anxiety. Anxiety is a deep worry about the unknown. You're uncertain about the future. You're uncertain that you don't have the answer to a particular problem. You are anxious because you do not have the emotional support, the family support that the child might need, and it brings anxiety. Anxiety can result in sleeplessness, restlessness, lack of appetite, overeating, not eating, oversleeping, not sleeping, racing thoughts. You're overthinking constantly. You are thinking about next year and you're still in this year. Our children go through anxiety as well. When our children are being abused and they do not have an outlet to let it out or someone to talk to about an abuse in the family, in the community, right? A stepdad or a father abusing a child and they want to let it out. They were not made as human beings. We were not made to just keep things in. We need to have outlets, and one of the outlets is talking about what is bothering you. When our children do not have this, it affects them and it raises the anxiety level. It goes over into school and they're not learning. They see a particular adult and they become anxious, right? And I might dare to say that anxiety is okay. We all need a level of anxiety. But when we have anxiety disorder that renders them almost dysfunctional, that becomes an issue. Some adults might be able to deal better with anxiety, but our children can only process things based on how they feel mentally, right? But emotional safety also enhances learning. When a child feels emotionally safe, they do better. Research proves that the students learn better when they feel emotionally safe, psychologically safe, that someone is looking out for them, that they have a confidant, that they have parents who are listening. It relaxes the mind, yeah? And so when they go to school, academic performance is good. It brings out creativity in them. It brings out their gifts and their talents because they feel that level of comfort that they can excel. They will not aim for perfection, but they will aim for excellence at whatever they do. But they also learn to have problem-solving skills, right? And that is how the mind works. The mind is awesome. The mind is powerful. The mind can either turn off or turn on, right? And so it is important that we watch our children from whatever age, right? That indeed that they feel as if they are reaching fulfillment. They feel happy, a sense of happiness. Though things might not be right or 100% good as it relates to their upbringing, as it relates to whether or not they can afford things at home, right? Whether or not they can afford more than one uniform, but they still learn to have some problem-solving skills. They have a level of independence. And whenever they reach a particular hindrance or a particular challenge, they can come to mommy and say, Daddy, I have an issue. I have been trying to manage it, but I think I need your advice, right? And emotional safety promotes resilience and confidence. Our children need to be resilient. And it's more than just bouncing back, as most of us know it from a setback. It's having that coping skill that whenever challenges come, you are determined that you're going to find a way around it or over it. And so there's that inner strength, that inner character that keeps saying to them, push. And so when a child feels emotionally safe, a child will feel that sense of resilience, that I must cope, I must survive, I must pull on all my resources, right? And they have a self-confidence, how they explain themselves, how they communicate, how they behave, how they react, talks about confidence. Signs a child feels unsafe. So the opposite of not feeling emotionally and psychological safe is being unsafe. And just as how we can feel physically unsafe, we're driving and somebody is driving so close behind us, right? We see somebody walk in our homes or somebody strange comes in our community. We feel naturally our body has defense mechanisms and our antennas will go up. I have never seen this person before. I wonder who this person is. Why is this person trailing me? And so naturally the body goes in defensive mode, right? We have the fight and the flight approach, right? And so naturally that's how our body works. When a child feels unsafe, the same thing happens. Mind-wise, they're not doing well. Mentally, they're not doing well. Psychologically, they're not doing well. Emotionally, they're not well. So what will determine if a child feels unsafe? So parents, caregivers, teachers, guidance counselors, you ought to know the pattern of the children's behavior. So whenever there's a change, you can tell that something might be off, something might be wrong. And by extension, adults, we need to know our fellow co-workers well enough that if something doesn't seem to right, or doesn't represent the co-worker very well, we know that, hey, something might be happening. And we are quick to make an approach to find out with empathy, how are you doing? What's happening, right? So a child who is not safe might withdraw him or herself from the family. The child comes home from school and the child is locked in his or her room. Communication is infrequent. The child does not interact with friends anymore at school. The child is not quick to answer any questions anymore in class. Withdrawal or isolation. The child no longer goes to club. That was the child wants. The child will be quick and happy to be a part of a club or a group, right? The child doesn't want to go to church anymore. If the child happens to go to church, the child stays by him or herself. We have to look for issues of withdrawal and isolation. If the child was never like that, and if the child is like that, something could also be wrong mentally and psychologically. Is that a hand up? All right.
Right. Well, you can continue, Dr. Smith. The hand was raised, but we're reminding persons that will be taking questions after the presentation is completed. And just a quick note, we recognize that the platform is almost at capacity. So we're asking if you know of persons who want to join us, they can log on to our YouTube channel where we are streaming live. So just in case they can't get onto the Zoom platform, they can log on to YouTube where we are streaming live, and it is CSS North 83. That is CSS North 83 on YouTube. Thank you, and back to you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. So withdrawal or isolation, right? And you can type it in the chat, but can you recall as a child, as an adolescent, there were times when you felt withdrawn, you withdrew yourself from the public, you were going through issues, right? You felt isolated. You can probably just confirm, and we have a discussion later on. Or you think about it, And as I said to you, that I've met a number of adults, and we call it adverse childhood experiences, where some adults are truly unhappy now. They can't form or maintain relationships, be it personal, interpersonal, social, whatever the relationships are. They have this inability to make lasting friendships. And I'm reiterating the fact that a number of our children who are now growing into adults might have unresolved childhood issues. Yeah? The way they might have been treated as opposed to their siblings. the way they felt less loved and less appreciated, right? They might have a physical challenge, an emotional challenge, and there was no support system around them. They never had the opportunity to vent what was happening to them. And it is these children who grow up as adults and become dysfunctional. These adults are now dysfunctional, right? Some adults are constantly aggressive. They do not trust others, right? They might have a level of mental challenges. They might be depressed, right? Or they have anxiety, or they have post-traumatic stress disorder. If you were to take them back to childhood, they might be stuck at a particular stage, yeah? And need intervention, need to get things resolved at that stage in order to become wholesome or to recover from the hurt, to heal from the hurt. You have adults right now, the only thing they can offer to others is hurt. Because hurting people hurt others. And if their childhood was just full of hurt and disappointment and betrayal and hostility and aggression, right? These children might grow up feeling withdrawn and isolated, can't talk to anybody, right? So we need to look at sudden changes as well in behavior or mood. We go back to that again. What changes have you noticed in the children? Yeah, the child was happy before. Past 6 months, the child has now become aggressive. The child is now involved in fights, quarrels, and that was never the child. The child starts to steal. The child starts to run away from home. The child now becomes delinquent at school, right? You send the child to school and the child doesn't turn up for classes. The child is on the compound. The child gets involved in some groups that are not healthy for the child's development, right? The child becomes unkept in his or her attire, right? You have to look for changes in behavior. The child is constantly teary-eyed. The child doesn't look happy at all. The child smiles, but the smile is fake. The child wears a mask, right? And I had a child in my practice some years ago, and I had a chance to speak with her alone, without the parents. Parents were waiting outside, and I had a session with a particular child, and this child said to me, "Sir, I have never been a happy child." And she said, "Sir, I don't like my parents. I don't love them. And they give me stuff. They give me presents. They give me things for Christmas. But that doesn't suffice it." She said that they don't show her affection. They don't tell her that she's loved, right? They don't tell her that she's beautiful. They have never had that. She has never had that from the parent. And so as a result, she becomes so detached from the parent. But she said, in order for them not to become overly concerned about my mental well-being, I just fake a smile. And I pretend to be happy. But she said when she locks herself in her room at night, and the parents think that she was sleeping, she's up crying, and she can't sleep. And so we need to look for changes. We have to build early relationship with our children. So when they change, we know exactly what is happening and they can talk to us, right? Home must be a safe haven, right? After a rough day at school, the child should feel safe that they want to come home now and just talk to mommy or talk to daddy, or mommy and daddy will allow the environment to be playful or relaxing, right? But the child ought not to be afraid of home. I will do anything to avoid going at home even early, right? That becomes an important. So changes in behavior or mood, right? If a child feels unsafe emotionally or psychologically, the child will have a fear of speaking or expressing themselves. John, what is wrong with you? Nothing. Mary, what is wrong with you? Nothing. Are you okay? Yes. But they're not okay. They're not okay. And we as adults, we do it too. We're not okay. But somebody asks us how we are and say we are fine. We're fabulous. We mask it. But psychologically, mentally, depression, oppression, suppression, whatever it is eating at us. We leave work and we go home and we can't sleep. We have sleeping issues. And as long as the night is, our eyes are not closed. And even if we try to sleep, our brains are tired. Our brains are overworking. So the following morning we get up, we are tired. And it affects us emotionally and mentally. The same thing happens to our children. They go through similar issues, right? And so fear of speaking could have a number of issues. Is home okay? Is home safe? Are my parents too busy? And I understand that parents need to work, but there are times when some parents can't find the balance between work and keeping their family, their children safe. Find it from the children. How was your day? What happened at school today? Right? And your facial expression is saying, talk to me. You're listening actively and you're tired, but you need to listen to the children as well. Because if they do not get the guidance from home, they're going to get it elsewhere. And that is an issue that we find in our children. They resort to those who can't help them. And they stray and they falter and we lose them. So in some homes, we lose our children because we are busy with other things and our children grow up and we don't know who they are. They struggle to find an identity. They struggle to find guidance and protection and a listening ear and a welcoming posture and a nice friendly smile. They might not get that. Physical symptoms can happen, such as headaches or stomach aches. And in psychology and mental health, we call it psychosomatic symptoms. Whenever whatever is happening to you mentally or psychologically start to have some impact on the physical, right? So you are highly stressed. You start to feel the tension, headache, or the pain in the back, or the joints, right? Because something is happening to you psychologically or mentally, right? That sends signals to the body that something is wrong, but it is really psychological or emotional, right? So the children, look out for children with these symptoms. They come home often and they go to school and they have their head on the desk and you ask what's happening. And they say, sir or ma'am, I'm not feeling very well. I'm having a headache. And every time the child comes to school, the child head is on the desk because the child is having a headache. Try to probe and look what might be the issue, right? Or they might have stomach aches. And I say to you that too, when children do not have a proper diet, it can affect them emotionally and psychologically as well. So the diet might be physical, but based on how they process things. Children are in absolute poverty and it affects them emotionally and psychologically, right? Others might tease them and say all they can afford is just a patty, right? Or we label our students and we call them path students instead of students who are on the path, right? And so we, as society, we are quick to put on labels, yeah? And we don't know how these labels are affecting our children, right? Declining academic performance. I used to teach once, and as a teacher then, it was kind of quick to cast judgment, and when a child is not getting it, we are quick to say the child is slow, the child is dunce, the child is a slow learner, right? But something is behind the academic performance if it keeps dropping. Parents might get frustrated because they don't know what to do. The reports are bad. The comments are bad. Needs improvement, right? And all these things start to come at the children, right? And the child is saying that I am performing poorly because nobody is listening to me. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I have a story. I need to tell it. Something is happening to me emotionally. I am wounded. I'm injured emotionally and psychologically. And because of this, I'm losing focus. I'm losing concentration. It affects my short-term memory. So there are things that I taught in class, and after class is done, they are not remembering. And one of this is what we call trauma. Trauma can affect a child's memory. Yeah, right? Trauma can stretch the brain and put pressure on the brain, and the child is not remembering things. You give the child a simple instruction, and 5 seconds after, the child asks you, what did you say again? Right? And sometimes our first approach is to curse and condemn. As a society, we need to have conversations. We need to have dialogue, and not to be quick to judge and punish somebody, but we need to find out if somebody has lost his or her way. And we who are experienced and mature enough can guide them. How do we do that? We have to start with a conversation. And conversation doesn't mean all the time that you are talking. It means that you are listening. Yeah, and that becomes very important. Creating safe spaces at home. Listen actively without judgment. So many persons have issues and want to talk, but they are afraid of the responses that they will get. Children are vessels and they have issues. And when the vessel becomes full and is overflowing, they will not be able to manage. They will self-harm. They will have suicidal ideation. They will carry out the suicide, the successful suicide, right? They might have developmental delays. So a child who is 12 might regress to a child at 3. The bed wetting, the constant fear, the shivering, right? All of these things, because they live in an environment that will judge them. Judge them for being sad. Judge them for being depressed. Judgment for being stressed out. Judgment for lagging behind in school, right? We need to show unconditional love and support, right? No matter what happens, I still love you as my child. Right? We all make mistakes. And it is said that the difference between a wise man and a fool, they both make mistakes. But the wise man learns and the fool repeats the mistake. Love our children unconditionally and give them the support that they need. Talk to them and tell them that mistakes or failure is not final. It's a chance to do things over in a better way. Tell our children that it's not where they're coming from that matters. It is where they're going. Yeah. And the road to success is going to take discipline, give them the support and the tools that they need. Affirm them. Tell them how beautiful or handsome they are. Transmit hope in them. Tell them that you're hopeful, that they'll have a good future, a bright future. Accept them for who they are. Whether they are short or tall, fat or skinny, accept them and give that unconditional support. I am here for you. I am your greatest cheerleader. I am cheering you along. Right? Our children need that kind of support system. So many are perishing psychologically and emotionally because they do not have a support system. Establish clear and consistent routines. Our children, no matter how mature they seem, they need guidance. So if the child needs to go to bed and get enough rest for school the following morning, and except for other things that might happen, but have a discussion and say, all right, Johnny, bedtime is at 9. You do your assignment at such time. You rest at such time. You relax, right? Have a routine and make it consistent. That becomes a part of the child's daily habits, right? Address conflicts calmly and respectfully, right? Conflict begets conflict. And so if our approach when children are going through conflicting situations, whether it's at school, and bullying, I tell you, is a real issue for our children. A number of them are being bullied at school and in cyberspace. And they might not say anything to anyone. The bullies follow them on their social media pages. They follow them on WhatsApp. They leave dirty, humiliating messages, inhumane messages, and our children go through the anxiety and the depression, but home is not safe. They're not saying anything to anyone at home because they do not feel safe. Can you imagine them feeling not safe, unsafe at home, unsafe at school, unsafe at cyberspace? And there are times when our parents are not cyber illiterate enough, social media illiterate enough, that our children are constantly on it and we do not monitor them and give them a time to say, all right, it's time to get off the phone. It's time to get off social media. What are you texting? What's happening? But we don't ask if we are detectives because from a good while now, we have had an open relationship with the children. And so they can talk to us, right? Address conflicts calmly, be calm. So don't get irritated. Parents were on. Somebody was unkind to your child, and the first reaction, I'm going to go to the school right now, and I'm going to raise war and judgment. And we do it for the child, and the child is learning from our reaction, right? But be respectful about it. There are parents I know who will disrespect teachers in front of the children. So the children, they have an issue, and they come home and give one side, only their side of the story. And without the parents find out the other side, there is disrespect and disregard. We teachers need to teach our children that aggression is not the way to go. And your voice can be heard without you being aggressive. You can speak your truth and speak your mind without thinking that you have to psychologically and mentally block the road and burn some tires to get attention. Our children need to think with their intellect and the reason and look at the pros and cons of one's action and make an informed decision, right? They need to model positive coping strategies, right? So our children need to model positive coping strategies. So they need to see it at home. When mommy or daddy, they might be stressed out. There might be an issue, a family issue. The child might look at it and say, this is how mommy and daddy, that's how they respond. They respond rationally, they think, they deliberate, they discuss, they agree to disagree, right? But the child now will learn to model positive coping strategies. Teachers, how do you deal with stress and how do you bring it across for the children to see that you come out in your body language, in your tone? How do you respond to them? Children indeed still live what they learn. Then we leave home and we go to school. Create safe spaces at school. I tell you now that for some children, their only safe behavior might be at school. I've seen a number of children who have become anxious and depressed during COVID when they had to stay at home. Because sometimes the abuser, be it sexually, verbally, emotionally, might be in the child's space when the child was not allowed to go to school at that time, right? In the community, so the child interfaces with the perpetrator so very often. When the child comes to school and school is safe, it's a safe haven for the child. School must be a place of safety, right? It must be inclusive. Our classrooms must be inclusive. Our teaching strategies must be inclusive. Right? There must be justice and equity in our classroom that will transmit to that confidence of the systems in our society, right? If a child is, sometimes even teachers, not picking on anybody, but even teachers become bullies based on how they treat a class, a student in class. Sometimes as human beings, we treat people based on where they are in society. They're upstanding. They are rich, they are wealthy. They know how to dress. They wear three-piece suits. And we tend to treat people based on how they appear. Yeah, right? But people ought to be treated with respect, right? If a child is struggling at school, right? Sometimes in just rushing to finish a syllabus, we have to do a check-in with what is happening to the child emotionally. Yeah? And be someone that the child can talk to. A form teacher you might be. Be that form teacher that will make a difference. And I tell you something, you know, when I became the president of the Jamaican Psychological Society in July, the first thing I do, I formed a WhatsApp group. And I saw a particular name that jumped out at me. And, you know, the person saw my photos and some interviews I did and figured who I was. And she took my number off WhatsApp and called me and said, "Is this Paul Smith?" I said, "Yes." She used to go to such and such a high school. I said, "Yes." And ladies and gentlemen, she was my form teacher in grade 7 at high school. And you know what? Why I remember her so outstandingly? We were a set of students who would give a lot of trouble. And so our subject teachers would often take complaints to her about our behavior. And the first thing she would do is to sit down and cry. But she cried from a place of concern. It was a motherly cry. And so many moons ago, I still remember her because she added that human component to who she was. She cried and said, "Students, children, please stop." Her tone was not condescending or judgmental. She opened the communication that we could talk and say, "Miss, we are sorry and we'll try to do better." That kind of thing. I remember always. The schools must establish anti-bullying policies and enforce them. I think our schools need to have policies and have a zero tolerance to bullying. But I also say to us that we need to protect those whose rights have been violated. But we also need to look at those who are the perpetrators of bullying. Because in a number of cases, when you talk to them, they too have psychological or emotional issues. Might do it the wrong way, might express it the wrong way, but I believe that they too need to be fixed. If they are left unfixed, then they become adults with the same issues. They become abusers themselves in their relationships. They have antisocial behaviors, right? They have mental health issues, psychosis and depression, and become schizophrenic and schizoaffective and all the way on the spectrum. So we need to make sure that when it comes to our schools, right, the known bullying policy is done through action and words, and there's a zero intolerance to the number for children when they are bullied. They resort to taking their own lives. They have to face it every day, right? So schools need to be on top of bullying, right? Provide access to guidance counselors and safe reporting channels. The guidance counselor should be someone they can trust, and he or she must prove to be trustworthy, right? So many children come into school and have so many issues, and the guidance counselor have so many other persons to talk to. But systems must be in place. And in cases where the guidance counselor cannot handle, or the cases need further management, he or she now need to contact external persons who can be a part of the support system. Teachers need to be trained to recognize signs of distress, and we call it emotional or mental literacy, right? At the basic level, you know what to look for in a child to say, no, this child might need intervention or further management. Promote peer support and mentorship programs, right? Look for students who are strong in particular areas, positive, wholesome, and pair them with somebody that you'll monitor and have that peer support group, right? Point them to a particular club in schools, probably an Optimist Club or the Rotary Club or Kiwanis, any service club, to build their self-esteem. Because when our students volunteer as well and contribute to a cause, it will build their self-confidence and esteem, right? Mentorship. Have an adult mentor a child who needs that mentorship, right? And work with the child as much as you can to create a better future for our community, or our homes, or our schools, and Jamaica land we love. The role of adults. Adults ought to be consistent and reliable in your words and action. Don't say one thing and do the opposite. Don't make promises to children and don't fulfill them. It breaks their trust. We ought to be trustworthy as adults. Respect their thoughts and feelings. Don't say that they're children and they have no right to feel that way. Respect them as human beings, and they too have thoughts and they too have feelings. Be careful of what we say to them. The angry outburst, the angry words, the bitter words. You ain't coming out to anything. You're worthless, right? All of these are important. All right, so I'm coming down nicely. Teach them about resilience again. And strategies for teachers, validate children's feelings. Use positive reinforcement. Provide opportunities for choice and independence. Create safe routines and predictable environments. Collaborate between home and school for consistency. And the long-term benefits of safety. It improves mental health and lower the risk of depression. The children perform stronger in academics. They have healthy relationships with peers and adults. It builds their self-esteem and sense of identity. They become resilient, responsible, and compassionate adults. And in concluding, emotional and psychological safety are important as physical safety. It requires consistent support at home, school, and community. Adults play a vital role in creating safe, nurturing environments. Together, we can help children thrive emotionally, mentally, and socially. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow.
We
Dr.
are
Smith.
fed.
Thank you, sir. This was an amazing presentation. A lot of information was unpacked, and I could tell that there is still more to be unpacked. And we may have to do another segment and invite you again, Dr. Smith, for us to get the full sum of this presentation. But you did an amazing job walking us through the emotional and psychological safety of our children and the different elements that are required and some of the impact, negative and positive impact that we have on our children and our society, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, you have sat, you have listened, and I have seen some comments in the chat. I also see some questions in the chat that we want to get to and we want to ask so that we can get the responses to those questions. So the floor is now open. The opportunity is now being provided to you where you can ask questions or make your comments and contribute to the discussion. So we ask you to use the raise hand feature, or you can type it in the chat and we will read it for you at an appropriate time. All right, so I see the first hand up, and that is from Mr. Robert Duars, one of our JPs online here. Mr. Duars, you can unmute your mic and go ahead. Good evening to you, sir.
Yes, good evening to you, Sergeant Fennell, and to your co-host. I must commend you for every month, you bring something like this to the nation. I just want to say to Dr. Smith, when I hear the presentation a short while ago, if we have more fathers, more delinquent fathers playing their role in society far more than the mothers, we wouldn't have to have a discussion like this, because children would more gravitate to the father when the father show more love and responsibility. I must tell you that I have one child and many children, because reason being, I adopt a lot of children and I play more responsibility in those children's life, even far more than their mothers, because when their mother first meet me, they are saying that, boy, them workless poop on up, pay no attention to them life and thing. And I take up the responsibility because I said, look here, as a justice of the peace, I don't want the crime situation to get out of hand. So I am nipping it now in the bud. And, I just urge all men, even if you have one or two child, look out there in the schools. Go and serve on a school board, a school committee, and mentor more than one child and try and keep the crime situation at a minimal level. Let one day Sergeant Fennell and his co-host and the rest of police hear the government said, you know what, crime is down to zero, so we have to lay you off. Right? Right? So, so I just urge all men, please do something in society by mentoring a child and take up valid responsibility. Okay, then, and thank you very much, Dr. Smith. It was a well put together presentation. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Luars. I'm not sure I want to be laid off though, but
We can appreciate it.
we can appreciate our crime coming down to zero. That is something that we would love to see. But with God, all things are possible. So let's see.
And this is one of the reasons we have conversations like these, because we are looking to fix the root cause of crime and violence and not just to deal with the symptoms. So important conversations like this help to set the precedence in terms of what we want our students, our children to be thinking about, or we can influence their mindset, because once the mindset change, the habits will change, and eventually this crime that we have to deal with will become a thing of the past.
That's true, because I think one of the things that most persons don't look at is the fact that crime is a social problem that starts in the home. And we have to start fixing the issues within the home if we're going to fix them in the wider society. And so it is absolutely important for us to keep that in mind. And when we're having these discussions, when it is that we're looking at fixing the crime issue, we have to start fixing it, as Councilor Powell said, from the root cause. We have to focus on those areas. And that is indeed why we aim to empower our families and to educate our families this way.
Right. And as I think it's Tammy T in the comment who mentioned that the home is the foundation. And she even asked what more can teachers do, because
That's
if the
right.
homes, if it's not being done in the homes, it makes it very hard for teachers to really cope and manage with these different personalities. So we have a part to play, and this is why I can pause here and shout out to the parents from the Innswood High School who are on the platform this
That's
evening.
right.
We really do appreciate you. And if you're a parent, just that have students going to school in St. Catherine North right now, just drop something in the chat. I want to shout it because we're grateful you are here. You are who we want to reach. You are who we want to reach. So thank you for being here, parents from Innswood High School. We're grateful. I can call out Elizabeth Cunningham. I know you personally. Thank you for being here. And Tammy T, she mentioned again in the same comment, she said, when teachers see these signs, and this question is for you, Dr. Smith. When teachers see these signs and inform the necessary personnel of the situation, it is oftentimes brushed under the carpet. What should they do in a case like this?
Very important point. And that's why I believe too that teachers, I know it's a lot that you do, but it's important too if you also are trained in emotional or mental literacy, because you can be a first responder. And sometimes based on your training, you might not have to escalate to another level because you have had the personal training, the professional training to help. But sometimes the systems become frustrating because when you refer, sometimes we refer them to, they too are overwhelmed. I might not have the enough resources, but I believe that if teachers, have the basic knowledge as to how to intervene, the psychological first aid, and can intervene from that side and create some links and work with the guidance counselor, the guidance committee, we work. And if the resources are strained, then persons like myself, they are available. And a number of cases, I do pro bono sessions, but I know that some parents can't afford it, but I have the heart to help our children.
That's
Psychological first aid. It's my first time hearing that term, and it's really something that we should definitely look into, even for us here in this office. So Dr. Smith, we will have you on for that session. We look forward to it.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
It is important though, based on Tammy T's question, under the Child Care and Protection Act, there are some persons who are prescribed persons. And not only that, but when it comes down to child abuse, any case of child abuse, we have a responsibility. All of us have a responsibility to report any incidents of child abuse to either the CPFSA or to the police. And we are mandated by law to make those reports. So you don't necessarily, if you find that you have reported it to somebody at the school who you believe has some responsibility in that area and they fail to act, you can actually take that decision to make the report to the CPFSA or to the police on behalf of that child. Because by law, we are required to do so.
Right, we have a duty of care.
That's right. All right, I do see a hand raised. Yannick, welcome it is. And Miss Welcome here is one of our stakeholders.
Yes.
She is a linguist and she is one of the persons that has been working with our St. Catherine North Cadet Corps. So good evening to you, Miss Welcome. You can unmute your mic and go ahead.
Welcome, Miss Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It was a lovely presentation, and I just wanted to add to some points that Dr. Smith mentioned. Now, this topic is it seems to be very simple, but it's really big and very important. And as an educator myself, oftentimes when parents, I'm communicating with parents, it's really hard for me And although I'm trained not just in education and my area of specialization, but in social and emotional communication and development, you feel emotional talking to parents and you realize that they themselves are not equipped to provide that safe environment for their kids. And so, however, I personally do not blame the kids when they are not safe or when they make a particular decision. I really believe that we could create some program in the school and in the community where parents get help sessions to teach them, to help them, to encourage them in how to be a better parent. Well, these parents, they became parents at a young age. And so they were not parented properly because their parents had them when they were teenagers. They had their kids when they were teenagers. And so the cycle continues. So nobody's really there to guide these young people, these young parents. And so when their child goes out to school and they come back in, they're not really checking to see what's happening. How was your day? How was your day? Were you bullied or are you bullying anyone? Dr. Smith mentioned safety in regard to bullying and some kids might be being bullied and parents should check if their child is being bullied. That's very important. But I want parents to wonder, to ask themselves, is my child a bully? So, and what can I do? What am I doing here at home to make my child think it is okay to go to school? Is it that they're acting out because I'm not giving them enough attention at home? So a lot of time we talk about the bullied, but not the ones who are bullying. And I think parents really need to check in with your child, see their personality. They might have a dominating personality or they probably don't even talk at home. But when they go to school, it's a different conversation. I've had parents come to me. I'll call parents and say, your child have been bullying the entire class. Really? Their response is, really? My little angel would never do such thing. They don't even talk at home. And so you have to understand parents that how your child behave at home is not necessarily how they're going to behave out in the environment when they're with their peers. Probably they see some sort of abuse going on at home. And so probably the child see daddy abusing mommy. And so they don't know how to defend mommy. So they come to school and they take it out by being bullied. So I think that some sessions for parents, for adults to really help them mentally and socially how to deal with these problems at home. These kids, after all, they did not ask to come into this world, right? So I know that some parents, they're having a bad day and so they take it out on the child. They're frustrated, they take it out. It's not fair. So remember, parents, when you are going to take out your frustration on a child, remember that these poor kids, they're just trying to go through a difficult day like we are. Yeah, they're young, and some of you say, oh, why you stressing for? Why you giving trouble for? You're young, you're a child, but they are going through their child thing too. They're going through their teenage issues as well. And a lot of our parents are not emotionally and socially intelligent enough to have these conversations with their kids. And that is where the teachers, that is where the schools and the different social organizations, the community, the non-profit organization, the churches, this is where we come in now. How are we going to help where the parents are not doing well on, Yeah. So I think the main point I'm trying to make here is that we need to have this conversation to help you. Because I cannot blame a child. After all, scientifically proven, a person's brain is not fully developed until the age of 25, at least 25 years old. So we really can't blame a teenager when they make certain decisions, especially if they're not in an environment where they have adults who are really probing them to behave properly, to speak properly, and all of that. So we really need to have this talk as adults and the community. We really need to come together. Yes, we've had the talk today about the kids and their safety. Very important. But what are we going to do? Parents, it's our home, because as you said a while ago, Dr. Smith, teachers, we have a lot. We have a lot on our plate. It really starts at home. We can't fix it all in the school. We can't fix it all at the police station. We can't fix it all at church. It has to start at home. And the reality is that some home is just not conducive to preparing these kids for a global world. And so I would love Sergeant Fennell and Ms.
Oh,
Oh, thank you. If we could have something like this where we really talk about probably a retreat or a session or something, a counseling training session where we can really help parents to do better. Another thing before I go is also parents, do not protect your child. If you realize that your child is not safe or they're in an environment or they're experiencing peer pressure where they are going out to join gangs or to fight or to bully or to be disrespectful to teachers and adults around them. Do not protect them. If the principal or a teacher calls you to the school and say, John Brown is fighting all the time, John Brown is skipping class, don't find excuses. Say, oh my God, I've dealt with it so much time. Stop protecting your child. Yeah, we know you love the child. But if you continue to protect them when we're trying to help you, they're just going to grow up and God forbid they join a gang. And God forbid one day if you hear on the news that they were shot down. You don't want to be one of those cliche parents that come on the news and cry that, oh, he was innocent and he didn't do anything. When you really know that this person did something and you have seen the pattern from they were in high school because the teachers would have reached out to you because you were so busy protecting your child. You're not helping them by protecting them and encouraging them in doing the wrong thing. And that's another form of safety. You have to tell them when they're wrong. If you don't do that, you're not protecting them. Thank you.
thank you so much for those comments, Miss Walcom.
Oh,
Very,
yeah.
very wise words there. You know, there is something that she said that just kind of jumped out at me. And it reminds me of something I usually encourage parents because we do sessions with parents, but the reality is that most of our sessions are organized by the schools and we're invited in to do the session. So we want to encourage our schools as best as possible. Guidance counselors, deans of disciplines, principals, vice principals, you can arrange those sessions because you would know the children who you see certain activities with, certain behaviors, and so you see the signs. When you identify them, then you can set up those sessions with parents. We will be happy to come in and we have stakeholders that we can invite in as well to do the sessions with these parents. But what it is that came out to me, or what I was reminded about, is the fact that every child is a reflection of their parents or their parenting. And so therefore, the children that we see out in society are products of their home and their parents. And so really and truly, we have to, as parents, start to take responsibility for the children that we are producing and sending out into society. And we have to stop disassociating ourselves with some of their behaviors simply because it does not reflect who we believe we are. But the truth is that what we are seeing is a product of what we have helped to create, either through our action or inaction. And that is important for us to remember. So I don't know if you have anything that you want to add, Dr. Smith.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, the home reflects who the children are, inadvertently or otherwise, but home is extremely crucial. Extremely crucial. If our homes are broken, our children by and large will be broken. If the family at home is unhappy, our children by and large will become unhappy. If our parents are not modeling the behavior that the child ought to learn from, there is a conflict right there. And as the linguist said, if we shield them from wrong, we are not helping them either, right? Yeah, so I agree with you 199.999%.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. We have some more persons who have raised their hands. Pastor Mason, go ahead, sir.
Pastor Paul Mason, are you on? Are you hearing us? You can unmute your mic and go ahead.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, the device wouldn't respond. Need some parenting, I suspect. Thank you. Indeed, Dr. Smith, a wonderful presentation. But what I'm thinking, there's a National Parenting Commission, yes? I'm just wondering how much more could they be engaged in this whole business? Because there's a lot of talk, and so we know what the problem is. What are we doing in terms of solution? So I'm thinking if it is at all possible for the National Parenting Support Commission to, they're already, I guess, doing some work in the school. Sergeant Finnell, as you mentioned, that the schools oftentimes organize parenting sessions, which I think is good. But could they also not engage the church? Because the church is really plays a big part in the society. You know, whole heap of people go to church. So I'm wondering if they could not come in and maybe train some persons in the church and have these persons do those sessions in the church and also in the communities where the churches are. I think that they could do that, and the church would provide the resources so that it wouldn't be so much of a strain on government, because the National Parenting Commission is a government entity, yes? And of course, each time they go out in the field, it calls for money. But if they could engage the church, and then I'm sure the church would be willing to, out of their resources, make persons available in the community to do the parenting. I'm also thinking that if it is at all possible, when a woman becomes pregnant, there's a 9 months for the development of the fetus. If while they are going to clinic, if somehow the information could also on parenting could be provided, so that they could have it being run on television screen, and so they would come under those sessions and learn something. At least they would catch something, I'm sure, as it really is, if it is presented right and presented in a way to catch person's attention, then that too, because we have to try all of the possible areas and ways to reach, because we are at critical mass. You understand, as it really is to, if we truly want the society to change, and the police is doing a great job, I must say, with the crime situation, but we don't want a case where we are seeing reduction here, but it's not sustainable, because what we need to do to sustain it is not being adequately addressed. Solomon called that vanity of vanity, or chasing the wind. So I'm sure there are persons out there with the creative ideas, innovative ways in which this parenting thing, because it's so critical, could be more in the public space, so we can have greater efficiency and effectiveness. This is from a layman's point of view, so I don't know, but that's how I see it. And certainly Heritage Independent Baptist Church would be willing to put up persons to be trained in what parenting is all about, and to be able to disseminate that information in the communities around us. So here we are, users.
Thank you.
So, indeed.
Thank you, Pastor Mason, because whilst I was sitting here, we jotted down something, because we are definitely going to be making the network between Heritage Independent Baptist and the National Parenting Support Commission. We're going to be doing that from our end to ensure that we get your members trained and see how best we can set up more sessions for other community members as well as community groups. So thank you very much for that recommendation, Pastor Mason.
We have, is that Moni or Money? Go ahead, M-O-N-I.
Morning, yes, good evening. Okay, so I am glad that I get to come on. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for the knowledge that you impart.
Hi, Moni.
I'm a parent that almost lose my 3 children because of a not safe environment, because of abuse that I've been going through me and them. The part where you speak of the school, I think if the schools would involve, like the police just said, that they have some program where they would be called in when a situation arises where children are being abused or the home is not proper, they're not safe. I think if the schools would When I recognize, like you said, when the child starts keep putting their head down, you know it's something wrong. When them start crying for headache, you know it's something going on there. When the teacher can recognize that something is wrong with that child, call in the parent and discuss it. And if it's a situation where it's beyond the parent not able to handle, call in the police to help. Because if that did happen in my case, when my child was being abused and I was in a situation where it's like I was timid, I was afraid, right, to take action and to do. I literally was being threatened, right? And if the school would have called in and got involved with police, and then probably a lot of women would have get more help and more children would have get more help in doing that, you know? So this is something that the society needs to look into more, where there's notice children and then they find out that situation is not going good at home. Because there's a lot of women out there being abused and they are afraid to come forward and report the situation.
Indeed, so
That is my word, the word right now. I don't know what society can do to help, but there's a lot. And for the children also that are being kidnapped and raped, I don't think society is doing enough to safeguard these children. I mean, look at the child that got raped, the 7-year-old at Treadways. These are the things that you have to keep questioning. What is happening every day? Hearing about these children being raped. What is society really doing to help alleviate all these problems? You know, there are things that I looked into, like the road that is not properly fixed. The children them don't have any proper sidewalk to walk, so them have to walk in and the bushes, you know, like the homes. Even the homeowners could probably keep their areas clean and bushed out because government is unable to do all of this. So I would suggest that they invoke that these homeowners keep their area bushed out because it's a bushy place. A lot of on the road side in Treadway is a lot of bushy area. The children don't have any sidewalk to walk on. They have to be walking in the road. Cars almost licking them down. There's so much school in the area, and the children are being abused. Those type of things, and they are stressed because walking on that road in Treadway is a lot of stress for the school children. The little girl that got this a bush, that's actually next door to where my home is in Treadway, where that bush is a gully right there, and the bushes are there. I try to keep my area bushed out from the front coming right in, but there is a part where the gully is where it's a lot of bush, and it's near there. I get to understand that the little girl was dragged in the bush. I am not at home now. I'm in America right now talking to you. And that thing get to me so much. I mean, I am just, a mother that already almost lose my children because of these men out there that then cannot keep themselves, them sexual urge or whatever to themselves. And it's sad. It's really sad in the society.
We
Uh,
feel your heart. We feel your heart, Moni. Thank you so much for sharing those sentiments. And what I see coming out of from both callers just now, that the responsibility of community is also something that we need to
that's right.
talk about. How can our communities be more responsible for our vulnerable citizens, our children, and our elderly? This is another conversation that we need to have. So thank you so much, Moni, for sharing those thoughts. And I can assure you that we from the Community Safety and Security Office here in Spanish Town, we are doing a lot to engage our communities and will continue to do so. And where you have community groups who wants to talk to the police, we are available. We are out there. I will need persons to engage us even more so that we can get a foothold into these circumstances before they become fatal, as in the unfortunate case of the young lady there in
Indeed.
trade ways.
Indeed.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I
And
believe like you around in each parish, you know. We need more people like you doing this in each parish.
thank you, Connie. Thank you
Okay.
so much. One of the things that came out as well, is just how important it is for the powers that be to put some more infrastructure in place to address some of these concerns. Yeah, I'm actually looking at a comment in the chat now. Not sure who it's from. It just says Galaxy Tab A. But it says, good evening, everyone. I am very happy that you have started this initiative. My burning concern is that we need to put institutions in place to educate parents, starting from the clinics, health centers, about all these issues bombarding our young, uninformed parents. I have been crying to our young people who are being destroyed, whether by murder or drug or abuse. I can't understand how a human being can just be brutal to another. Why can't these people be rehabilitated instead of being destroyed in one way or the other? Is it that they have some mental issues beyond us? We have taken too long to recognize all these things. And it's right now, as I'm reading this, I'm looking at the importance of looking at the early signs.
Yes.
And those are some of the things that you spoke about in your presentation, Dr. Smith, talking about recognizing changes in behavior, changes in mood. Because the truth is that no child just wakes up one day and is completely different. Everything takes time, and that change is a process. And they would have gone through several stages throughout that process, and they have experienced different elements of change. The problem is that the adults, the parents, the guardians, they missed all of those signs, all of those early signs. And so therefore the intervention that would have been necessary to help to remedy the problem, it escaped us. And because it escaped us, it caused
the results,
there
the
you go.
consequences.
There you go. And so, it points to the real need for us to focus on our children and to observe the changes in them.
And it begs, it brings out a concern, as I've always had. And based on how I grew up, the circumstances I grew up in, I understand that some of the things that happens, little things can fix them.
That's right.
Little efforts, like I think it was, I don't remember who said it earlier on the platform, checking the students when they come home from school.
Yeah.
Parents, there's no parent that can tell me you're so busy you can't ask your child out if they're okay.
That's true.
Irresponsibility and negligence is inexcusable in a parent. Simple conversation. How are you doing? These are things that we can do. I listened to Moni share just on. She said that if the people need to keep the roadside clean, that context would not be presented for the gentleman to easily pull that child off the road into the bushes. Simple things that we can do, practical stuff that we can put our fingers on and fix things. My mother, I don't even want to get into my story, but there are simple things that we can do. My mother was very busy as a parent. My dad was very busy as well. But they ensure that certain things are done. Certain questions are asked. These are things that we can do as parents to curtail certain things. And when we see the signs popping up, we can understand that this is not my child. Something is happening and I need to step in and find out what's going on. Another thing that parents are not doing is they are not sending their children to Sunday or Sabbath school anymore.
That's right.
They have removed these things from their development, so they have no regard for these institutions.
And the morals and the principles that are instilled
by these institutions. So we really are calling on parents, and we probably are talking to the converted, but this is a message that we need to get to the wider Jamaican society. Parent, please parent. There's a gentleman who always says nowadays children are running yard and parents are running around yard. That cannot be the case going forward. We have another commenter there from Nicolette McDonough Foster.
Right, her hand is raised, so you can unmute your mic and go ahead, Nicolette.
And please correct the pronunciation of your last name. I'm pretty sure I butchered that just now.
Good afternoon, everyone. The name is McDonough. I am going to empathize with the parents. I am an educator. I am actually a principal. I live in this parish. I work in Kingston. But our children network across parishes. I want to commend the police because you are doing an excellent job no matter where you are. You may live in one parish and work in another. You might be stationed in another parish. But I guess you have operated in such a way that we are connected. I am proud of my nation policing.
Thank you.
Yes, as a principal, I can say that. I am in an early childhood institution, and Dr. Smith, I am happy that we have passionate persons like you in the society. However, we are giving our parents sometimes basket to carry water. I have over 200 students within my institution, and I'm recognizing if we don't equip the parents with self-help tools, they are lost. Blind can't lead blind. I'm going to share as simple as I say to my parents. We allow students to carry a backpack, not because they need one. These are 4, 5-year-olds. We need them to learn independence. We need them to learn. And those things are shared with the parents. Hug them, hold the bag. You need a little emotional support. But when they get to the gate, allow them to put it on. We want them to identify objects because sometimes bags look alike. They have to differentiate at the early child level. They have to know their belongings, how to care for them. So these are the training that we utilize. It's not because we want parents to buy a bag, but to give them that confidence and independence. These things have to be related to the parents. Some are still so emotional, they want to even carry the child. We're saying, how do you develop leadership in the small ones is to allow them room. So when I hear a parent say to a child, and they're very genuine, let me help you. I'll do it for you. I'm saying, mother, you're handicapping your child, and they get very annoyed. I am saying to a parent, say, we can do it together only when the child requests help. The child must learn to fail and try again. That is why we are committing suicide. We don't know how to dust ourselves off, get up, and go again. We think failure is ultimate. So sometimes it starts at the smaller level. I see somebody commenting with Dr. Brown can correct me. At the early childhood level, we don't call it bullying. We are going to use the word very loosely and it's going to get us in trouble. Children at that small age mimic behavior. So again, he's correct. What is happening in the home? The child doesn't understand. I come and I tell my friend to pick up the rubbish thrown on the ground. You know what happens next if the child don't pick it up is what happens to me. So I will let 2 slap, whap, whap, because that's what happened to that child in her environment. So she's following what is practiced on her, on somebody else's child. We have to take a level approach to say, okay, we're going to put these 2 parents together. We want mentorship. How do you train your child, mommy? You need to help this parent. We're in the same classroom and I see parents pass other parents like we're antisocial. We don't stop to say good morning to each other. The children are observing in the space. They come in. I know they're in a hurry. They don't greet another child. It's as if my child is the only child. This kind of behavior is picked up immediately by the other children. Like the gentleman say, when he comes in and he's mentoring several others, his child is appreciating that this is my culture.
Yes.
Social skills. When you isolate yourself, you're telling your child, I am antisocial, therefore you should behave the same way because they're mimicking you within that environment.
Right.
So we say to parents, we go the extra mile to explain, not because we want to frustrate you and we talk too much, but to make you get a better understanding. And if it persists at the early child level, I'm going to now say to that parent, you're correct. It becomes bullying because no approach was leveled. I am concerned about our new parent. I categorize them as BPO parents. Don't get me wrong. They mimic the past parents who worked in wholesale. They don't get bathroom breaks very often, and they can attest to this. They don't get day off, and even if they do, sometimes they're trying to make an extra buck because they have more than one kids. We're training our teachers to reach out to these parents because they are not neglecting their responsibility. They're trying to sustain a family and sustain the work that provides for the family. I don't know how they do it. So they have guilt trips. I train my teachers to say, listen, jot down little antidotal notes. If you can, do a little private thing for the parent to see, then delete, because they want to see the development of their child. That is how you're going to mentor that parent. Other parents can do it as well. We need to go back to the days when we help each other as parents. It's me, myself, and I. I have never been brought up in that culture in a Jamaican context. I had many mothers and fathers, and I'm a barrel child. This is St. Catherine. So I like to address the problem in saying exactly what the lady said, who her heart is wrenching overseas. We have a system called class mothers, class fathers. You're from a community. All the children have to walk, and 4 parents come and pick up their children. They don't escort a group like a line going on a field trip and make sure they get into the community safe. They take their child and go. Sometimes our conscience must be our guide. If you're in the same classroom, going to the same meeting in the classroom and the same institution, come on. We need to give support as it relates to our nation. Every child must be mentored, and it's not supposed to be just their family. We are all one family under Christ. So I get very passionate because I am saying, let us help. We tell the BPO parents on your day off. So if my parents are listening, because you're all my parents, on your day off, make a connection with the teacher. I know you're tired. I know you might do the extra hours and it's 3, 4 of them, and you don't even have time for yourself. Make a connection with the teacher. Genuinely go in and say, teacher, I work at this BPO. It might be in Spanish Town and you live in Kingston. If the teacher don't have that knowledge, if they don't see the parent, the first thought for them is that you're a wayward parent. When in truth, you're trying to earn the living to provide a meal on your table. So you need to connect with the teacher and saying, this is my reality. I work at a BPO. Maybe I only have 1 Wednesday off. I can call you X time. I know we don't lose that passion as teachers yet. The dedicated, committed teachers are still here. So I want to reach out on both sides because it takes both of us to connect. So I feel the pain. This is why I still do what I do despite the challenges. I am not leaving my nation because my nation is one of the best. We just need to have the conversation, find the tools, and work around it. So let me tell my parents, I am proud of how well we're improving. We need to reach each other now so the community can strive. And yes, make it easier for the police. Thank you, officers. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And keep this up. This is a powerful tool in the arsenal for parents to grow.
Thank you so much, Miss McDonough.
Miss McDonough Foster.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing. And we hear the passion from how you express yourself. Thank you so much. We appreciate that
Yes.
sentiment.
And I agree with her in what she said. We have to equip the parents with the requisite knowledge and skills to be able to impact the children the way that we want them to. And it goes back to not being able to pour from an empty cup. And it is important for our parents to be empowered enough so that they can then empower their children. And it's important. And as we're talking here and we keep talking about the sessions and getting the resources and the information to the parents, one of the issues I have, for some reason, it seems as though some of the parents are not interested in the information. Because you will invite certain parents from certain groups to meetings, to sessions, and the reality is that they simply do not turn up. Or they don't put out the effort to get what it is that you're trying to impart to them.
Right.
So on one hand, there is not enough being done to get the information out there. But on the other hand, there is the parents who are receiving it that are refusing it. And so we have to find a way to strike that balance. And I guess it comes back down to not being able to save everybody, so to speak. But for those who have the interest, for those who want it, we have to find a way to get it to them. And that is one of the reasons why we are doing what we do, because we want to reach those who want to be reached.
Those who want to be saved.
That's
will be
right.
saved. Taking another comment from Bernice McLean. Go ahead.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Hearing
night.
me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good night again. All right, I just have a little bit of mix up in every little thing going on here. So the first one is bullying, is it? I am my little granddaughter. One morning I hear her saying to her mother that she's not going to school because her bully is giving her a problem. No, you hear what she say? Her bully, you know. So when I heard that, me couldn't stand my heel. I had to go down by the school, had to talk to the vice principal, find out what was happening. We were trying to reach out to the parent of the child, and lo and behold, the child didn't come to school for about 2 weeks. Prior to when I went there, the child didn't come to school. All in all, to find out that the child is getting bullied at home. We would call it bully too. So I guess the child come to school trying to find somebody to give out some of her bullied little thing where she don't know who to throw it off on. So she start dash it on somebody else's child. How do we rectify that? Because you do have children who are being abused that is trying to go out and give some of what they are getting. And not because they really want to do it, you know, but they are tired because guess what happened now? Parents no believe they pick me have stress too, you know. You understand? They don't believe that they have to go to school and deal with. I saw one little boy run into a car one evening at a bus terminal, running from about 3 boys. And after the boys left, I went to him and I said, young man, you're okay? And he said, no, them bullying him because he talking to a girl that is their friend, and them no want him talk to the girl because he must be fat. Some man I say, all right, wait till you come to school a morning. Now watch this. My child like that now come home and tell me all the next morning say him no want to go to school. And hear me now as a parent. Boy, come out of the yard and go on to school. Go on to school and give him all 2 big lick in the back. Boof, boof, go on to school. Just in order for him go to school, go get 2 more big lick in him back, you know. We as parents don't say to the child, say, what is really happening? We don't go and find out about our child that is under stress because we don't know, because we're not doing anything as parents enough time. We don't try to check these things out. I'm talking from personal experience where I have all my daughter going to a particular school who tell me, say, look, you know, ma, I have a gentleman where I see out there going to school every morning. Him come over there and I tell me, say, later. Now as a parent, me must do. Sit down in the house and expect, say, pick me and tell me, say, this big old man, I tell her later. So what I do? I just send her to school one morning, she and a little friend, and I walk back at her about half a mile and I watch them down the road. And lo and behold, you know, the man sit down on a stall next door. And when she reach up the road, she turn back and she look at me. And I give me up because I teach my children codes as well. You understand? I can be going out of the street and I go through my gate and my 2 little girls them come out. And by the time you look on them 2 way, them notice say, look, you know, we are going back up and going because new man in our ear and him a pass. So watch you know, me a go in. Cause my eye them a say, go in. You understand? You have to know if you teach your children them certain knock where you knock the door. So look, you know, a 3 knock a me or a low knock a your uncle or some that you can know say if a man just go knock door, you know, just go open door. You understand? How are we going to talk to our children about these things? I know a girl who have been taken away by a taxi man. And I tie him use and grab her around the neck and choke her. Is it that we should tell our children that when they're wearing tie, when they're going into taxi, them tie? What we need some education as parents, you know. You understand? Because that child almost died. Right? The child got raped, I must say. But the child was keen enough to even use drug with the man kerchief when not even a take check. Wipe up herself with it. For use as a DNA just in case they catch the man. You see what I'm saying? So you have to teach your children them some things. Don't leave them like that, unattended. The same bushing thing with the lady about. Right now, me even walk on the street. and I am seeing need to push, and people dump glass on the sidewalk and have me to walk at least a quarter of a car length into the road to get around broken glass that is on the sidewalk where a pedestrian is supposed to walk. Right now, me have to say me can take a picture with the car, go show a parish council if them can clean the side of the road this for me, because I send out all the elderly people them out in the street. So we need as parents to do things for the children. Do not just lick them and I say this and I say that. Find out what is happening with them, because them have genuine concern. And should we talk about picnics must be seen and not heard? You understand? We don't listen to what they have to say. Right? So I'm just putting in my 2 piece that the place them need for bush. And if we as residents can bush some of it, make we bush it. All right? If we can get some entities to come in and bush it, let us try and get some entities to come in and bush it, because it is very dangerous to ourselves, to our children. Stop saying out to pick them late at night at a shop and talk about them soon come back. Them must come back. You understand? Because the little pervert them out there going on with things with people, children. Right? And what do we do with them? Because they see the person that I saw, that my daughter tell me about, and I stand up there and watch him when he cross the street. I realized he was actually looking out for her in the mornings. But what I did was wrong. You know what I did? I decided that I'm going to let her take taxi to school, and I charter a taxi to send her to school back and forth. But then my big son said to me, but Maya, leave other people picking at risk too. We need fit patter climb man and climb down a station, because you secure your child by taking a taxi back and forth. Right? But what is going to happen to other children that is walking the same route with the same tough man down there? You understand? So please, I'm asking the officers, sometimes if you can do a little drive around, sometimes I know no work full and I know no have no vehicle. You understand? But if you can do a little 1, 2 spot check more time in a certain areas, just do it for me. Because I am telling you, the people them out there, look, suppose the man kill the people them pitney, choke her with our school tie. Eh? So I'm just asking, just keep up a good work, but if you can do little runs during school time, please may I ask you, just do it for me, please. And maybe we can still have the educational program like parenting seminar where we can teach parents little bit about these things and what they can do when these things crop up. Because some of we don't know till it reach the door, you know. You understand? So blessed love officers and everybody online.
Thank you so much, Bernice.
Well, once again, we can hear the passion coming out of that conversation.
Coupled with deep concern.
That's right. And, there was so much that she said that if we sit down and we just listen to it, there is so much that she's giving us right there, because, when you're talking about genuine concern for somebody else, just having concern for somebody else or for somebody else's child, that is important. Giving signals to your children, teaching your children signals and helping them to understand how to respond to those signals. All of these things are very, very important as relates to the safety of our children. We are, ladies and gentlemen, coming down to the end of our program. It has been a powerful discussion. I'm going to describe it that way. It has been a powerful discussion, and as much as we really don't want it to end, unfortunately, we are coming down to the close of the program. We're going to take one last person, which is Carlisle Taff. And after Mr. Taff, we're going to go back to Dr. Smith to get some final comments from him, and then we will bring the program to a close. So, Mr. Taff, good evening to you. You can unmute and go ahead.
Yes, good evening. This is Principal Taff from the YWCA Spanish Town. First and foremost, I want to give commendation to you and your program. And I am getting a fulsome practical day-to-day idea of this from my guidance counselor, who I think does guidance counseling, Mrs. Nicola Carr, in a different way. But one I think I've picked up though
when these situations come to me, I come to realize from a longer time from a teacher, sending home children is not the way to go. Suspending, no. Because if you are very Jamaican, our parents don't have anybody to leave us with. And our parents leave us at home from as early as 7 and 8. They really don't have that, they're always hustling. So sending home children is not the way to go. I think they should be ingrained in the system with community service, and the list goes on. However, what I find happen, my school takes on a lot of dropouts and stuff like that, and children with behavioral problems. But one of the things I constantly seeing, they shove off the children on the grandmother or on an aunt. And I said to them, no, grandma, I'm not taking your child. I'm not taking the child. Tell me where's the mother and the father. Upon knowing where the mother and the father is, the first thing I saw to do is to call them. If you are not involved, if you don't come here down here by tomorrow, I'm not taking this child. What we find is a lot of parents push off parenting on grandmother and grandfather, and you know what happens. It's not the type of response that children have like when we were smaller, where the children respect the grandparent. And our next strategy I've been implementing, or I've seen, the domestic and the fact that the mother left the father has contributed to children's behavior. Or father can't get back mother. One of the next thing I do, I said, let me talk to the father. Sir, I said, excuse me, let me speak, to give me the father number. And I call the father there in the office and I get response. When things happen, I realize it's not the children need suspension, it's the parents need suspension. And also the parents need counseling as well as the child. Having parents several times, having left my office, I have to say to the guidance counselor, you know, is a parent at fault or need help more than these children? And I come to realize that sending home children is not the issue. So what we start doing, we start referring parents, or we ourselves trying to do surface counseling. And one of the things I realize, a lot of commitment. You want me to take a child? Sir, if you're not going to help grandma, you know, I'm not taking this child. All right? So I find I get more school fee that way. The mother says, sir, him nah give me nothing. Say that makes sense to call him. When I call him, I get $10,000. I get 8, I get 5. Sir, Friday again, I send that. And I find a respectful trend. Sir, the boss not pay, you know, so Monday, you know, I find that respectful trend, and let me not board. The parents keep their words.
Mm.
And I like what Miss Foster say, you go down to their level, and the next style, most principal will not see parent maybe till 9 o'clock. I said, look, I need to see you tomorrow, and don't tell me about work. If you are serious, I'm here from 7. I can have a meeting with you. If it's not a big spread of a meeting, I could have a meeting with you by 7:30 so you can let you go work, or 7 o'clock. Principal might say, you're setting a bad example to have the walk-in process, but with my situation, it's unique. It must be ticked off that the parent come, you encourage them, and so on. So I just want to thank you for this program, and I'm learning new things in a new way, in a new space, and you have to flex it to make it really work. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taft. Carla Taft there is a very old friend of mine, and I'm just learning that you are the new principal of YWCA. Welcome to my jurisdiction, Mr. Taft, and I do look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
And you have been using some strategies, as you indicated, that will help, and we certainly will be partnering with you to ensure that there is success in your tenure as a principal here.
I saw somebody mention in the comment that all schools across Jamaica should have police officers. Let me just use this opportunity to say to you that the JCF does have a safe school program where police officers are assigned as school resource officers to schools right across Jamaica. So if you want to get in contact with your SRO, just ask the school, who is the police that is assigned here, and they will give you some more information. Until you do that, here at the Community Safety and Security Office, we have our SROs were out there in schools and are playing our part. You might have seen some way along social media where we're doing a new program called Learn Not Loiter. That's an initiative by our school resource officers. If you want to reach us, please contact 876-338-5818. That's 876-338-5818, and we can further this conversation. See somebody saying, yes, I have a police and health at my school. Yes, our police are out there doing
That's right. So here from the St. Catherine North Community Safety and Security Branch, we try to do as much as we can to impact our society in the best ways that we can. Not just through the whole act of solving crimes and treating with crimes when they come to us, but we want to be proactive in terms of doing initiatives, engaging our communities and our citizens in a way that we help to prevent crimes from happening, or we help to reduce the opportunities for crimes to happen. And that is what we keep doing here every day with each and every initiative that we do. Dr. Smith, it has been an amazing discussion with you. We can't thank you enough for coming on, and I'm sure that every single participant on this platform tonight benefited from the information that you shared. But we just want you to take just about 30 seconds and just give your final word, your final charge to our participants here.
Right. Thank you, Sergeant. And I commend you and Constable Powell for an awesome, absolutely awesome job in moderating the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and I want to thank all the parents, all the principals, all the other stakeholders for your participation. I hear the concerns, I hear the passions, I see the pitfalls, and as a psychologist, I'm always interested in the why. There's always a why between, before the behavior is exhibited. And until we reach to the why, we're always going to be treating the symptoms of the problem.
Right.
It takes a village, and we can start back the village.
Mm.
Home can work harmoniously with school. The church needs to be a part of the initiatives and the conversation. The village as we know it to be might have disappeared, but I think we can start back the village. Sensitize our communities, get leaders on board, training for parents, training for teachers, psychological education, mental health literacy, and the conversation that you start right now is extremely important in creating the changes that we ought to see. Thank you, parents, for being who you are. And thank you, we were not born with a manual, but blessings, and there's always space to learn. The day we stop learning is the day we die.
That's right.
There's always a need to improve on what we are doing. It has been my absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate the effort by this division. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul Smith, clinical psychologist with over 15 years of service in this field. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this evening. We truly appreciate your time, and there are persons sharing the same sentiments in the comment. We appreciate the wealth of knowledge and expertise that you've shared with us this evening. And as Mr. Fennell says, our audience has been invaluably impacted by your presence here this evening. Thank you so much, sir.
Definitely. And I just want to say, for those of you who may have made a comment in the chat and you did not hear us read it, I am pretty sure that there are persons who have been going through the chat and have been reading those comments. Some of them we have responded to, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, we were not able to get to all of them. Nevertheless, I want to say a big thank you for your contribution to this discussion, because believe me, it was eventful. The chat has been brimming with conversation, and we love that. We love this kind of discussion that is taking place between our participants, between us here, the hosts, and our guests. We absolutely love it, and we look forward to it each and every month. So for those of you who received the link by whatever means or whatever group you received it, you can look out for part 3 of this series, which will be the last Sunday of October. So we will announce the topic and our guest for that, and we will be sending out the information to you, and we look forward to seeing you back on this platform to engage in dialogue with us once again.
And if it is that you think this evening was too good for you to only be fed once, you can go to our YouTube channel at CSS North 83 and rewatch the session. It's going to be, well, it's posted there already because it's a live recording. So it's on our YouTube page where you can get the slides that you've been asking about in the chat, where you can rewatch the presentation and get back some insights from this evening's presentation. So go to our YouTube page, it's CSS North, that's CSSNORTH 83 on YouTube.
And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it so that someone else can benefit from the information that you have so benefited from tonight.
And I did say I was going to shout out my JP, and I don't want to leave because you're building trust here. I don't want to promise something and don't do it. So this is me sending a shout out to all the justices of the peace who joined this evening. So thank you to our JP Dias, Mr. Linval Ford, who is also the uncle of Sergeant Fennell. We have Paulette Foley, Paulette Lawson, Mrs. Williams. We had Robert Lewars. We also had Dr. Camille Hudson, Dean Doctor. Thank you so much for joining our JPs. Thank you to Miss Pisa and Morris, our JP as well.
And
from
Restorative Justice.
Restorative Justice. I think I saw
as well.
This.
Yes, as well.
Thank you so much for joining. We also saw Dean of Discipline from the Teachers Hall in High School, Miss Jamila Thomas. Thank you so much for joining. We had Inspector Wayne Constantine, the sub officer in charge of the Linstead Police Station. I see somebody sending shout-outs to you.
Sergeant Evans as well, Sergeant Constantine Evans.
Right, from Shady Grove Police Station.
Was also on.
And I must say that Glen Goff was represented with. Oh, I see Annalisa Small saying me. I think she's a JP.
She's a JP as well.
Very well. Small. We had representation from Glengoff Police Station in the person of Constable Nadia Myers Richards. We had persons joining from Clarendon, the Clarendon Parish Youth Council. Miss Howell Manor, thank you so much for joining. We had from the Clarendon Festival Queen Competition, Miss Clevina Brown. Thank you for joining. And thank you to our North family, our schools, our churches, and our community. We have been greatly delighted to share with you this evening on the emotional and psychological safety of children. I am Constable Chantel C. Powell.
And I am Sergeant Kester Fennell. And once again, we thank you for joining us for the Family Empowerment virtual discussion. And we look forward to doing it again next week.
See you then. Work good.
Bye-bye.
If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world.
Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty